Oki, Ambawastich, Nisatapi. My name is Emily Ward. I acknowledge that the land I live on, Mokinstis, is the traditional territory of Treaty 7 nations, including the Blackfoot people, comprised of the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, comprised of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney nations, and the Métis nations within Alberta. I acknowledge that Treaty 7 was signed with misunderstanding, and that treaty promises have been unkept by the Canadian government, perpetuating harm onto the peoples of this land. Treaty 7 was signed in good faith by the Indigenous peoples of this land while smoking the sacred pipe, and this was not reciprocated by the treaty commissioners at Blackfoot Crossing. This knowledge informs my understanding of Treaty 7 relationships. As I continue to learn more about Indigenous history, I endeavor to build strong relationships with Indigenous peoples and communities around me, wherever I may live in the future. One of my main takeaways from Education 4351 is the danger of one story. As a teacher, I will ensure that my students do not have one story of the Indigenous peoples in Canada by continuing to learn more about Indigenous people myself and by building relationships with Indigenous peoples in the future. It is important to me that all of my students have more than one story about themselves. I was born and have always lived in Mokinstis, and I have enjoyed the beauty of this land as a child and still do today. I acknowledge myself as a part of nature and thank this land for being my home, my place of safety, and for the joy it brings me. I hike, rock climb, walk, and camp in this land with the intention to leave no trace except to clean up what others have left behind. I show my gratitude to the land by picking up garbage, staying on marked paths, educating others when I can about how to take care of the land, and giving wildlife space because they deserve respect and reverence. As a teacher, I'm the one telling children the story of Canada's history, and I will do so in the most truthful way I can, speaking about the intentional acts of genocide against Indigenous peoples, such as residential schools, in an age-appropriate way. I will seek out Indigenous resources, chances to build relationships with Indigenous communities, and Indigenous knowledge, as well as staying current on best practices of sharing this knowledge. I will create an ethical space by meaningfully integrating Indigenous perspectives into each classroom I teach, without tokenizing this knowledge. I am grateful for what I have learned so far on my reconciliation journey, and I look forward to learning more.